All right. Welcome in, everybody, to The Half. My name is Aaron Montgomery. This is Erich Campbell. How are you doing today, Eric?
Doing all right. Busy as usual, but hey, that is better than the other option, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. All right. Well, let's get right into this, Eric. As we learned last week on
Yes.
this, we stop at 30 minutes, no matter what. So
100%. In fact, I actually showed that to my wife, who thought it was great fun that you cut me off mid-sentence. She loved it and would like to see me get cut off more often.
all right. So yes, I even set you up for that. I said, "Hey, Eric, what else should we talk about?" And then I hit the button. So
I knew. I mean, I knew in my heart. I knew that was what was going to happen. But that's exactly what. Like I said, I think that was the most.
Sure, I was going to actually do it, though, right?
Yeah, it was
maybe
good.
there was a
No. I like it. In fact, that's the thing I like the most is that we are just going to talk about stuff we're interested in, stuff that's going on, industry and out, and talk to our fans, friends, and listeners.
Yep, exactly. The folks tuning in. In fact, let's see here. We got Jerry. Hello, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Good morning, Martha.
Good to see you in.
Awesome, Ramona. Thank you so much. I heard the reminder and came running. Good morning. And Michelle, good morning.
Yes.
And Nan, thank you.
I'm happy to be here.
I can't wait for more from Eric too. This is pretty
Thank
awesome.
you, man.
And if you want more from Eric, take up this afternoon.
Yes, it's happening.
2:30 Mountain Time. So
this is true. You can go to erichcampbell.com right up at the top banner. You can get there. It's been the easiest way to go now. So that's coming.
Jeff would like you to finish your sentence from last time.
You boldly assume I remember what I was talking about 1 week ago.
I basically said, what else should we talk about? And then I rudely hit the button. So
I pretty much said the best thing about, because I knew it was going to happen.
All right.
So just to let you know, I had a feeling.
Up. Good afternoon, Frank. Frank
over in the UK.
From the UK. Good to see you. And Jerry. Hello. Todd. Yo, what's up, Todd?
Yo.
Hi from cold Ohio, Sharon.
Yes, the coldness is coming. We're frustrated here too in New Mexico, where Valentine's Day, the one day we might want to at least get some takeout and have a nice time. It's going to be snowy and awful. I know. My wife has been bitterly complaining.
Oh, that's right. So is it inappropriate if I ask if you'll be my Valentine, Eric?
Where's that 30-minute
30 minutes yet already?
But buddy, we were always Valentines.
Yeah, that's right. I love it. Awesome. All right, Becky, feel like a stalker. This is our fault. So do you blame us? So let us know what you guys want to talk about, what you guys want to hear. We're going to keep saying good morning to everybody. Rena, thank you for being here. Sandy, good morning to you, Sandy.
Good morning, Sandy.
Jeff says, go ahead.
Yes, Frank never sleeps. Frank is a robot. He's on all the shows and sharing all the shows. And oftentimes I'm like, I will stop and go check the time zone and go, Frank, it's 2 a.m., my man. Frank. it's really late, buddy. Not that I can say anything. I got chastised fairly recently because I sent a bunch of emails and somebody sent one back and it was like, we're in the UK. Why are you up? Images Magazine, where you guys know I publish monthly, they're in the UK, and sometimes I'll get one like, that was a really fast reply. Isn't it like 3 there? And I'm like, just don't ask.
yeah, exactly. Yep. So no sleep. That's typical. But here is the deal, though, guys. Just FYI from somebody that is a recovering no sleep person. It changes things drastically if you can figure out a way to get some sleep and figure out a way to make good sleep. It will really help. I'm kind of speaking in my glass house still a little bit, but I know I'm getting better. So, all right. Jerry says, no matter what, my profile won't show top fan on any forum. Suggestion.
I don't know. I've had that happen myself. Like, people have been awarding me top fan status, which is just, I don't know. I'm a big booster in the industry, so I just like everybody's stuff. So I get top fan all the time.
I wonder if inside of those things, I guess I haven't looked enough. Like, can you actually go set that? And
you do have to activate it, because they will say you have a top fan badge. Do you want to show it? And you have to say yes. Yeah. So if you haven't said yes yet, you might want to look and see. I actually don't know the settings off the top of my head, and I'll be good enough not to go try and search it up right now.
Yeah.
But that's, if anybody else knows, please in the comments hit.
Yeah, exactly. Sharon, but you can keep warm on Valentine's Day. Wink. Good point. We'll leave that alone.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that well alone.
Okay. All right. Snowing awful. That's the Iowa weather. Yes, the
I can imagine
getting ready to get hammered or already getting hammered. So, Jerry says, Sharon, we Ohioans never get used to being chilly. Yep. So,
Jeff, dirty pool, Jeff.
All right. So Jeff says, when doing screen printing, how close can your lines be without worrying about bleed?
You know that you don't screen print, and you know that we don't screen print. What I'm going to say is this: I don't know, but I know some really great people who do. Go to terrycombs.com and email him,
Yeah,
or show up for two regular guys in the morning.
Or Johnny C. Shell at
Yes.
gmail.com. We just had Johnny on, the two regular guys. So that is a perfect question for Johnny. And he will know, and he will have the science behind it, and he will give you the specific details about it. So
don't get me wrong. I have put trap on a film. I have done a little teeny tiny bit, but I will not answer that not knowing what I'm talking about. So thanks, Jeff.
Yeah. All right. So Becky asks, free tools to allow customers to check status of orders so they don't call or email.
Free tools is the hard part on that one. The best tools I've used are not free.
Start there.
Okay. I mean, if you're working with like any of the ones that are currently out there, they generally have these settings like Deco Network and Inksoft if you're running full shop management software, stuff like that. I know that there's options to do something like that with like ShopWorks. You'll find that most of them will have some sort of web component you can add on or use, or the ones that are fully web-based will have that stuff. So like I said, I worked at Deco Network. You guys know before in Brilliance, I worked at Deco Network, and they had the full ability to do this stuff. Other than that, I know that most e-commerce has some sort of status built into it, and you can set custom statuses in most e-commerce websites. So if you're doing it manually, I would say honestly, you're going to find most tools will do something like that. Whether or not that's free, and especially if it's specific to garment decoration, that's another question altogether.
Yeah, totally. Then the other thing I would say here, Eric, is I think, like you said, what's your e-commerce platform, and maybe, because I think part of the challenge becomes if you're getting orders from a lot of different places, what's your, where is that all coming through? So I know people will like use, that they've got Shopify and just run everything through that, even if it didn't come through your website. And then that way you have a central, there's an app called orderdesk.me that's worth checking out, kind of getting everything in one place. And then I think you can set up different statuses and then have automated emails that go out when they move from one status to the next. So there's lots of different ways to kind of go about this, and free, nearly free, I think, but some of it kind of goes back to the front end part of this of where is it that you're bringing all your orders together to begin with, and let's start there and then work our way back from there. So
no, and that's honestly that's been my frustration with it, is I don't even want to recommend free tools half the time, because a lot of free e-commerce tools don't have garment decoration in mind, and so it's a lot of tweaking and playing, and you may end up where you're not very happy with where you get. When I was doing custom stuff on e-commerce, life got a lot better when I started using paid for decoration specific tools.
Sure.
It doesn't mean we can't sell without that. In fact, selling stuff, especially pre-decorated stuff or selling stuff, you can totally do in general e-commerce, software. That's fine. I will say, when I was doing all of the approvals and the rest of the process, when we're doing like approvals and graphics and the statuses and all of that, I was much happier using an apparel decoration specific thing, which meant I was paying for it.
Yep, exactly.
But that's my 2 cents, not everybody's experience.
Yep. And one other bit for me here, Eric, is the other part of this though becomes let's get it all mapped out, right? What you have to map out what you actually want to have happen, because then that'll also tell you what tools to use. Like I said, you can make a lot of things work. I could take like the if this then that, the ifttt.com, and use that and build some automation to where whatever triggers happen, moving it in the process, then that will trigger an automatic email. So anyhow, we could spend the entire half hour on that. So
for sure.
Let's keep moving, because I see some other things here. We'll hit a couple more of the comments. Frank says, at my age, I don't need much sleep. Justin says, morning from sunny Arizona.
Yeah, we should be there.
Todd is wanting to know, what is sleep? I don't think we'll try to tackle that here today. Jerry said, I did that. The activation.
That's weird. Yeah. Usually if you've done the activation, you'll get a little top fan badge that's next to your profile. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll have to look more into that.
For sure.
Trying this on YouTube also. All right. Jeff says, what's the most efficient method to get your heat press time and temp dialed in?
From my experience, first thing was to start with manufacturer's sheets that tell you. Other thing is to actually test the real temperature, not what's on the dial. So whether that's heat press testing strips, or whether that's, temperature, thermometer probe, whatever you're using to test that.
But you do need to get
goes for sublimation.
Yeah, you do need to get what you said about the heat press test strips. I think those are some of the best to use because a lot of people will get that IR reader, and then they'll try to shoot the platen kind of thing. But you have to realize that when the platen's not closed, it may not be giving the actual heat.
That's true.
There's Teflon on there that's kind of covering some of that, so that heat actually comes through the Teflon when it's closed down on top of it. B, like I said, some presses are actually made to where it's not actually producing the energy needed for the heat until it's closed all the way. So they like the Hicks presses are notorious for that. It's great for your for the fact that you don't waste a lot of power when they're not being in use, and you can actually put your hand a lot closer to a Hicks press when it's open than you can a lot of other presses. But again, it becomes you can't then use an IR gun to find out what the true temp is. So
do they have a longer dwell time because of that?
Not typically. That they've done a pretty good job of getting that converted in really quickly. But it is, and it's funny because I used to sell Hicks presses, and I used to talk to them about it. I'm like, you guys need to talk about that more, right? And they're like, they didn't talk about the fact that because your electricity bill having a Hicks press compared to other presses can actually be smaller. So
that's awesome. No, I've run Hottronics, which I mean, great presses. Those are fine. I love them. So
no, totally.
But all of them
good. I've got a George right now. Hottronics I've used all great presses, and so my suggestion is heat strips. That
would be mine too. I mean, I know people do the other way around. The other thing I will say is, even if it's open, check areas. Don't just zap the middle of it because it could be uneven. That's why the strips are the best. Also, you're testing them. Like I say with embroidery, test under the conditions that you're actually going to use. So with it closed under pressure is going to be a more accurate test than zapping the head. But I mean, if you have nothing, then that's an issue. The strips are good. Plus, tune in people who are doing this stuff all the time too, like Josh Ellsworth and Installs TV. Like there's a bunch of people who are doing this stuff that are putting out incredible heat press content, who have been around these machines constantly. And also Aaron, I mean, you heard Aaron knows this stuff. That in sublimation, you got to have it right for sublimation. Bad heat press will make sublimation really suck. I've done it.
I mean, the just like some variants will and variants of like a different spot in your press will cause to the product to not come out exactly how you want it. So good stuff there. All right, I want to make sure we keep going here. So Jeff's ordering them now. Jerry bought the heat gun off Amazon. It was helpful. And I'm not, I've got a heat gun too.
Still use them.
Don't get me wrong, but you're not going to get the exact temperature necessarily. I'll use a heat gun for something like as soon as it comes off to kind of get an idea of where we're at, how far we got. So, and Paula says, where can you get heat strips? First I've heard of them. Paula, I'll put a link in. There's a place that's actually what they do. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I'll put a link in there and most of the supply houses actually do have them. They just don't really, they're harder to find. So whoever you order your supplies from, ask them about, especially if it's a heat press, somebody that sells heat presses, they should have some temp strips too. But I'll get a link to a specific place here after we're done.
I'm glad you're here, man.
Hey,
you got more than I've got. Like I've used the equipment, I know how to do it, but some more supplies for sure.
All right, so let's see here. Let's go ahead and now get to the part where I can leave, Eric, and let you take over.
All right.
Let's see here. Jeff asks I'll let you take this one, Eric.
When getting gapping and embroidery, what you suggest, increase underlay, increase density, or both? It depends on what we're looking at. I mean, I know it depends on one of those answers nobody likes to hear for sure, but I have a tendency to make sure I've got structural underlay. Not everybody agrees. If you listen to, I know just recently, Jeff, by the way, of M Nerd or the Embroidery Nerd group, they had like Lee Carascelli Balboa, who is an awesome educator. She's like of the mind that underlay is a waste. I'm definitely not. I'm the kind of person who builds up underlay as a platform underneath stuff so I can lighten up the top stitching and not have all of my stitching in one direction. There are more ways to do this than one. For me, structural underlay, so that I've got some rails of underlay under which, that are under the top stitching, so it lays on top of those rails of underlay. I like to put that under there, a nice mesh, 45, 135 degree angle light density mesh is great for high contrast stuff. It lifts up that top thread. Certainly there's that, because when you pack the density too tight, that's how you get that rippling and warping perpendicular to the angle of the stitches. I know that's a pretty technical thing to say, but when we pack more density, it's how you get a lot of that three-dimensional warping and rippling. However, if you're seeing gapping between your threads, and if you're seeing underlay in between it too, even if you use underlay, then yeah, tighten it up a little bit. Where I'm scared is where you're getting up above 0.4 millimeters or 4 mil density. When you're getting tighter than that on 40 weight thread, you should really think hard before you go under that 4. When you're at 3 something, you're probably getting really, really dense. I actually run 4.2, 4.5 really normally, and up to 5. Or 0.5 mil densities on fills, depending on how much contrast I have. So my suggestion is do a couple tests. To do a couple tests of squares in the same color on the same fabric, with underlay and without, with different kinds of underlay, different densities and shapes of underlay, grid or perpendicular, and do a couple tests with density. You guys have seen my swatch tests. You've been on any of my shows. I still do swatch testing. If I've got thread that I'm not sure how it's going to work, I do little 1-inch squares with different settings, and I do a big palette of them, and I label that thing so I know what file it goes to, so I can correspond my settings in the digitizing software with the sample that I got.
All right.
So that's what I would say. Sampling is all. The proof of the pudding is in the eating.
All right, let's get to the next one here.
Sure.
With embroidery, how do you work with a customer whose letters are less than 1/4 inch tall, yet they think they want it digitized on a hat?
First thing I do is tell them that if you are going to be seen, especially these days, you'll be seen from 6 feet away due to social distancing. And if you want anybody to read anything, it has to be legible from 6 feet, or there's really no point. So the first thing I do is say, it used to be handshake distance. Normal American handshake, there was a study in the 60s, it says between 3 and 4 feet that we stand apart when we're shaking hands. So if you're in America, that is the distance you're most likely to see something from without COVID. Now that we have this going on, I say 6 feet.
Yeah, there you go.
A couple more feet. And I judge everything from 6 feet.
Perfect. Eric, saw your video on e-commerce at the Impress Connect. I feel very good about my new website layout and presentation, and I want to build a store on that site. But the last time I did that, I got upsell emails for security to the point that it was costing $1,000. Is that normal?
Then you can weigh in on this too, Aaron. I find that some of the security upsells are a little crazy. I will do full daily backup as high end as I can. But some of the security stuff is a little wacky. And I've also said, I've had a host I worked with where it was extortion. I mean, literally now I can't prove this, but I turned down a security package, and 2 days later, a bunch of my settings were changed on the website in files that were never touched. And I went and replaced them, and they were back up. And it happened a couple more times, and then I complained to them and said, what's going on? And it stopped happening. Yes, this is an upsell thing. If you're with a junkie, a junkie's host that's not a great host, be careful of that stuff. But I don't think it should probably be that way. You do want your certificate so you can have a secured site. You want HTTPS. You want that for sure, because otherwise you get little bad red icons.
At this point, you're not even gonna. You won't even show up if you don't have that anymore.
No,
it used to be kind of an option, but not anymore.
You need to get a certificate, and I actually have to do that on my personal informational site. But on all my e-commerce stuff, I do get your certificate. Make sure you have backups. The other thing is, if it's a WordPress site, you might think about using the Jetpack backups and notification, because it's fairly cheap and it's not terrible. It just depends. It depends on what you're looking for. The big security packages, though, I haven't. I personally don't love them. Depends on who you're working with.
I'm right there with you, Eric. I use a place called SiteGround for all my hosting and whatnot, and they are fantastic. I really love them. In fact, I'll put a link into my affiliate for them. Not that I want you go, but I truly believe in, and honestly, I have not paid for anything when it comes to that. They do backups automatically. I have backups installed on my WordPress stuff. I also use a tool, the free version of WordFence. I think it's WordFence, and that's been really helpful. But through SiteGround, I get the free certificates for all that stuff. So talk to your hosting provider would probably be another great way to look.
Sad thing, I think the hosting provider is the one who's probably doing this for you. I would say in my career, I haven't needed a lot of that super upgrade security.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So there we go. All right, Jerry, sunny St. Louis. It's cold as hell here though for me. So, let's see, we got that one. We got all that one. Sorry. Jeff said I had the regular guys mixed up. I asked a screen printing question first instead of sublimation question. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Terry's not here.
Yeah, a little bit more hair, just slight amount more hair. All right, let's see what else we got here. Jerry asked, what digitizing software do you use, Eric?
You guys do know I work for Brilliant, so I'm going to go ahead and release that right now. Say, you guys know I work for Brilliant, so I'm doing a lot of work in Stitch Artist right now. I have used darn near everything. I did most of my career in Wilcom. I still have a current copy of it. That's just, fair to say. I also worked in Pulse for a while. I worked in Melco Design Shop. And I started out in QDT on DOS. So I have used every manner of digitizing software out there, up to and including Home Stuff and Hatch and all the things that you can imagine. I've touched it or used it and made designs out of it. What I'll say 100% true is it is not the software that makes you good. It's your knowledge of embroidery and knowledge of these settings and the nature of threads, stitches, fabric, stabilizer, and how to put things together that make you good. I have seen people make equally awesome masterpieces out of Mbird and Wilcom and Pulse and now Stitch Artist. And it really has, yes, there are things that make you faster. They don't make you good. They don't make it turn out well. That comes entirely from understanding the tolerances of embroidery, the compensation you need to do, and how to interpret the art of the thread.
Nice.
Hands down. Hands down. So are there tools that are different in each one? Absolutely. Some you love from each different package, and that's just the truth.
All right. Jerry says, always forget about this square swatch test. Thanks for the reminder. There you go.
Yeah, it doesn't take long, and it's really worthwhile.
Totally. Jeff said, I'd have paid for a class for the 2 answers you've given me. The whole, if you get one thing that helps you save time, it's worth it. Thanks for taking my questions.
Yes, my man.
Yeah, exactly. So next week, the half coming to you for the low.
No,
nope, never.
It's too free.
Not who we do. Not what we do. All right. Todd says, bring embroidery in house or sub it out.
What's your market, my man? That's what you got to know. Where your customers are at? Have you been selling embroidery now? Sub it out to start for sure. Sub it out to start. Get your feelers out. Make sure you have a market for it. And then if you find that it's something you need to have in-house, that you want the turnarounds, you want control over both the creative and the technical nature of the thing, bring it in. But like many things, it's a skill that takes work. It's not going to be turning on a light switch, especially if you're coming from print. And hey, other way around. I didn't know that. I didn't know the answer when Jeff asked about screen printing. So honestly, when you're taking on a whole new thing, you got to make sure that you're okay with the downtime and with the costs that you'll accrue in the meantime. But yeah, bring embroidery in-house. I like it in-house, but I worked in a shop where we did a lot of like sub 24-hour turnarounds, creative solutions that we charged a lot for, but it meant that everything had to be done in-house, same shift. That made it make ultimate sense for us to do it immediately. And honestly, the place that I worked started out as a screen printing place, brought in embroidery when everybody was asking for it with their orders anyway. So yeah, feel out your customers. That's my opinion. What do you think, Aaron?
With Valentine's Day coming up, there you go. Sorry, that was a horrible joke. All right. we don't have a dad joke on this one, so I just...
yeah. Those are very different things. Don't do the other one.
Yeah, all right.
Consent is important. Come on, people.
I am... The key point that I got in... I mean, obviously lots of great information there, Eric, but when you said when you're starting out, sub it out because you got to grow your market. And honestly, I would do that with everything new that you can, right? We all want to go out and buy that new piece of cool equipment and, oh yeah, I got to get this. Yeah. But you know what? If unless, because here's what happened. When you go buy that new piece of equipment, you've got to have the money to service that, right? You've got to be able, because that equipment's going to cost you money. Then you got to get the consumables. Then you got to learn how to use it. And so what people do is they start businesses and they're not funded enough. And so they never get over that hump, right?
Yeah.
So what you should do is start a business, let somebody else do the work for you until you get your market built. And then, by that point, you'll know enough about the process that you've got a great basis to jump into it. So
yeah, and a lot of people keep subbing forever, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're cool with the margins, and especially if you're a super salesperson, be that. If you want to do that, if it's not execution or if it's not, like I said, for us, especially for myself, it's been, my whole thing has been, you bring in something crazy and difficult and multimedia and I could make that solution happen, but it meant that I was doing experimentation and sampling and showing people stuff and sending out samples, and that had to be physical. It just had to happen. Whereas, if you're an extra salesperson, you just rocking that stuff out. Yeah, keep subbing if you want to. There's a lot of people who start as decorators and turn into subcontracting wizards all the time. So
yeah. In fact, I know lots of people that like you said have been a screen printer, a sublimator, or whatever, and their business is still going. It looks exactly the same as when they actually had all the equipment in house.
True.
And they went the other way, and they just became the sales arm. And boy, they love it. They can't talk highly enough.
Caveat I have to share. One caveat: during the pandemic, the people who had equipment in their third bedroom ate the lunch of some of the people who were doing the subcontracting when things went bad. Yeah. I saw it happen a few times. It's not always going to happen. Your people might stay in operation, but if you're relying on a supply chain and it got broken, that can cause problems. Problems with blank supply chain can still get you. All kinds of things can still get you. But I have seen people who are running, big commercial operations get shut down while bedroom operations were still going and pulling.
You do have to make sure that you've got, and as you see things coming or as things are changing, you've got to have those conversations and be ready. Sure. But and have enough, if you're subbing it out to one place and that's just it, you have no other relationships, then that's you shouldn't do that on your own. I mean, think about if you're in business and you've got one piece of equipment and that piece of equipment goes down, it's the same thing, right? So have those relationships, be part of the communities. And then this is a good point too. Ramona says, and when you get your own machine, keep subbing out until you learn your machine. Don't rush it. Yeah. I remember back and this is the hey kids back in my day story, but my 9-year-old makes fun of me about those stories now. But I remember when we were first starting out selling direct to garment back in the early 2000s, 2004, 2005, 2006 time, people were like, oh, I've got this huge job and I'm going to buy this piece of equipment. And I'm going to go do this huge job. And they failed, right? Because they didn't get the learning curve down. They didn't figure out how to do everything first. And so they were already in the hole. They started off in the hole, and that's not where you want to start a business at.
By the way, this goes for digitizing too. Anybody who thinks they're bringing digitizing in-house, be ready to keep subbing it out for a while.
All right. Jerry says, sub it out for sure. Consider the cost of machine software. Find a great digitizer, sub it out, my humble opinion. Todd says, I'll give you credit the first few times, but then I'm stealing it when you're starting out, sub it out. You only have to give credit the first time, Todd.
Yeah, that's the Terry Combs rule. We call that the Terry Combs corollary to to citing your sources.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Eric, we've got 2 minutes left. I think we can try to cover this one. How many services should you do in-house? Screen printing, HTV, sublimation, pad printing, embroidery, DTG. Is better specialize in one or two things?
We did all but 2 of these in our shop, and I would say you end up specializing anyway to some degree, but as many as you can keep customers for and you can keep people on board and you have the money to run, you can run, but realize that means you are going to have to sell into all of these markets.
Yeah.
Anything is possible with sales working the way it should be and with the right people running the machines.
Yep. And for me, I mean, I think you've got to, like you said, unless you can do all those things and sell into all those markets and keep all those pieces of equipment busy, you're way better off just specializing in one area. And then as you get really good at that, then you can start, okay, let's go out to a new market and you just kind of expand. But if your focus wheel is, a bazillion things, you're never going to, the saying I like it to use is if you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing to nobody. And
so,
same way with this equipment stuff.
I mean, Aaron, do you think of these things, are there some that you wouldn't necessarily bring in first? What would you bring in first?
Well, I think what you're passionate about is probably where to start. Some people are drawn to screen printing because of the craft of it. Some people are drawn to embroidery again because of the artistic value of it, the craft of it, and things like that. Other people are drawn to sublimation because of the full colorness, the pop, and so I'm not sure one's better over the other necessarily. But what I would start with is,